They say that the truth always comes out in the wash. Sunlight is the best disinfectant when it comes to exposing a lie. And of course, electric light is the best policeman when the light shines.
Yeah.
The Western media and European politicians just left themselves looking stupid as they automatically blamed Vladimir Putin on a recent drone strike on the Ukraine-Romanian border town, Galati. This was, I think it was Friday or Saturday last.
Yeah.
Okay. Most EU heads of state sang out as with one voice how the Russian president was guilty of murder most foul, although nobody was actually killed in the incident. Led, of course, by the choir master, Vladimir Zelenskyy, the president of the war-torn Ukraine, leading the group. Of course, on the day of the incident, a generous amount of space in the Western press was offered to reinforce the narrative. But we all know that something didn't quite work out well for the Western narrative when all of a sudden the Western press went deadly quiet about the subject.
Yes.
So a little hint to people who may be watching this. If the story dies abruptly in the press, it's because it became a dead end for the likes of Europe's national rags.
Yes.
If all of a sudden it stops, there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't a natural ending. So to find out what happened, we need to go to the press in Romania and surrounding nations to shed a little sunlight back to the top. Right?
Yes.
Only by searching will find out the probable truth, especially if it comes straight out of the horse's mouth. That horse in this case is Romanian President Nicusor Dan. He said that the drone that struck the home in Guarati was a product of Ukrainian defense fire. He said that a fleet of Russian drones were en route to their targets in Ukraine and that some drones were taken down by defense forces of that country. One of the drones was winged, and it was that drone which veered off course and ended up falling into the neighbouring town of Galati, Romania.
Yeah.
Of course, this was a far cry from the deliberate strike Van der Leyen was on about, and so the press in the West shut the story down. As we said in another podcast, that if it was just one drone, it was probably unintentional. But several drones would be a different matter. And oddly enough, a situation involving Ukrainian drones and Europe's largest nuclear power plant in the city of Zaporizhzhia was largely hidden from the populations of EU countries.
Mm-hmm.
The latest attack last Saturday punctured the outer walls of the plant and was carried out by laser-guided drones from Ukraine. And this is not the first time that the plant has been targeted by drones from Ukraine being sent over during the last 2 years. Just to give you an idea, if this plant goes up, it will create a nuclear cloud which would make Chernobyl look like a walk in the park. Alexei Likachev is the head of the Russian State Atomic Power Corporation, and he said on Tuesday, any explosion, any fire at the plant guarantees a loss of both power and water supplies to the reactor unit, and that is a precursor to a major nuclear incident. Ukraine and Western states are the first to be at serious risk. The International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi said, this whole radiation situation doesn't respect national borders. By playing with fire and allowing escalation of tensions around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the leaders of European countries are clearly putting their people, their cities and their territories under a direct threat.
Yes.
So as Europe is spending money on Ukraine and sending drones and things to Ukraine, Ukraine is being naughty boys by sending. It's actually a war crime to
Yeah.
target a nuclear power plant,
Well,
and Ukraine has been doing this regularly over since 2022 in this same plant.
yeah.
Uh, it's only this time. Sorry, it's only this time that it's broken the outer wall of this plant and started to expose where they're doing the operations.
Yeah. I mean, as you sort of said, I mean, that's what's going through my mind. Whatever you may think or not think of what's happening on the ground in Ukraine, being on the ground, yeah, and sending over these horrendous weapons. Really, drones are. I think they're up there with landmines for horrendousness. In my opinion, they really are. It's one thing to have hand-to-hand combat, and yeah, men can decide whether or not they're going to do it or not. These things are just horrendous. I know that we've got them as well. I mean, I'm not saying anything. Yeah,
We're sending some of them to Ukraine, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean they're cheap. They're cheap, cheerful. You know,
not so much cheerful, but they're cheap.
well, yeah, yeah. Whenever evidently there's some maniac for Ukraine who's probably with vodka in one hand, going, "Hey, look at this! Oh, this is war game. Yeah, this is Call of Duty on fire on a speed. This is, yeah, the stupidity of it all. I mean, okay, legitimate military targets in Russia. Okay, airfields, military airfields, military well, I'd say munitions places. Yeah, I suppose that they're legit if they don't actually have anything more horrendous than conventional TNT in them. I know that's a very euphemism, and yeah, I'll be pulled up on that. But I'm just trying to think of something there. Hopefully, no chemical weapons are involved. Yeah, obviously, if you strike a nuclear arsenal, all bets are off. What will be next? Although apparently it's actually quite difficult to detonate a nuclear bomb, weapon. Really, this is why a lot of countries have problems. But I imagine dropping dropping explosives on it might just find some way of doing it. But yeah, to target, as you say, to target a civilian, what is effectively a civilian target, and one that potentially could be very damaging, as you say, probably wouldn't affect Russia that much in scale. Wind blowing in the right direction, yeah, take out half the population in Europe, or a quarter of the population in Europe, or affect them. And yes, if the Western leaders aren't aware of what the Ukrainians are up to, they ought to sort of be a bit aware if they're sending them the toys to do this with. Yeah, I'm using a lot of euphemisms here because I'm beginning to wonder if that's just not what it is. You're getting ignorant, stupid people, not really realizing what exactly they are doing, or they realize it. I mean,
I
they've
think
targeted.
in this, I
Yeah,
think in this case, you've got ignorant, stupid people, but they are aware.
yeah, and yeah, they okay. To me, that would be an act of desperation by Ukraine. It would suggest to me that maybe Ukraine aren't essentially winning the operations on the ground. Yeah. And that they've decided to, up the ante, as it were.
Well, as long as the Europe is going to send them money,
Mm,
and I said this about when the US got itself involved, and I
mm,
said, that the US has gone too far down the road to stop and turn around and go back.
yeah,
And it's what Europe's done. It's just invested so much money into this game that if all of a sudden they turn around to Ukraine tomorrow and said, right, we're not giving you any more, they have lost a phenomenal amount of money,
yeah. Well, as we said,
and they can't afford to do that, so
Hmm.
they've got to keep going. They've got to keep going.
I mean, this was it between the US and Europe. It was all over the minerals that Ukraine has. It was seen as an investment. That's it. Cold hard business logic. At the end of the day, um, it's yeah. When we're talking about you and me said, I think privately about the strike in Romania, that does seem like something that's gone a bit wrong somewhere else. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
we
if
had
it's only
different.
one, if it's
Yeah,
only one drone,
yeah,
then it's probably an accident of some sort. Wasn't
yeah.
intentional.
Well, yeah. I mean, and Um, that's that's a consequence of actions, um, but yeah, to turn around and it wouldn't have made any sense for the Russians to just decide to bring in Romania into any conflict at all. If Romania, yeah,
Or if they did just to send one drone.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Come on.
that's not quite the Russian style of doing it. Well, I mean,
No.
well, you've got to admit it. When the Russians decide to do something, it might not always be the most competent action, but they go for it. Yeah. Yeah, there wouldn't be just a little prod. That there, yeah, there would be a very noticeable action going on. I mean, we all know that now the game's gone up and they're targeting Kiev now. I read the reports the other day. But yeah,
Yes. Oh, yes, of course.
yeah, and um, sooner or later, the world's going to have to decide whether it's going to make Russia and Ukraine sit around the table and seriously talk. I know they're sort of meant to be doing it, or we're going to go, as we say, mutually agreed destruction route almost, you know. And this is the stakes we're now playing for.
Yeah,
And
I could have mentioned what's happened in Ukraine and
yeah,
in this conflict, what happened
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah,
You know, Ukraine hitting a bus in
yeah,
Crimea,
yeah,
killing children and women again.
mm,
But like I said, in the Western press, there's absolutely nothing
mm,
about this nuclear power plant,
yeah,
and that's the reason why I brought it up.
yeah,
It
because
started at the beginning of the week,
mm,
or over the weekend rather,
yes,
but it had to be brought to attention to
mm,
the people in the West.
yeah,
It had to be mentioned,
yes,
you know.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, most people across Europe and the US were carrying on with our lives and doing jobs, etc. You have the opportunity and the time to sit and scour what is going on, and thank God
Find
there
out.
are people like you who have an interest in doing this, um, because these things are getting bypassed. I will say the journalists across the Western media as a whole are not doing their job. And like I say, you find these things in obscure little places sometimes. Yeah. And you just don't go to one random website. I've sent you websites before with information on, and you say, well, where's this come from? Where's this cited? What is this site? So you've questioned what I sent you because I thought something was interesting. And you said, hold on, boy. Yeah. Where's the receipts for this? Yeah. Um, yeah, which is, yeah, run things past you. Yeah. I mean, and that's what the journalists should be doing. Yeah. There's two sides to every story. Yes, I would like, yeah, I mean, moving on, we both like the conflict in Ukraine to stop and then to come to an amicable agreement and do trading and business with each other, Russia, and be the link and everything else. And um, unfortunately, there's even if Ukraine and Russia wanted to do that, there does appear to be other people who are quite happily for the tensions to continue, if not escalate further. Yeah, I don't know if you agree with that one, Steve, or not. You know, from
Well,
beat,
it's
if
going to end when it ends,
yeah,
and I tell you something, the Western countries, Europe, the EU,
mm,
for sure, are going to be left with foot in the bill,
mm.
a humongous bill, and they're going to get not absolutely nothing in return.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not the leaders; it's the people across the EU. Let's remember the hard-working people who go to work every day and already paying a lot in taxes for different other things and incompetence with
Well,
this on.
the populations that are already trying to change the leadership of their countries
Mm,
because they're just not satisfied
yeah,
with the difficulties that they're facing
mm,
because of the conflict.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
And people are trying to draw parallels with what happened, yeah, 100 years ago, give or take,
Uh,
and it's a totally different scenario. Not
talk
suggesting, yeah,
talk about the populations. It's been quite a while
yeah,
since I've watched Survival Lily. I'm gonna have to try and find out what she's up to these days.
yeah. I must have,
She's sometimes a good sort of information.
Well, she's a foot on the ground or 2 feet
Yeah,
on the ground. Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, she's to me is one of the ultimate preppers, who's probably more than capable. Yeah, I saw on a program, I think an American-based program, where she actually went and survived in the wild. Okay, it's a TV program, but I think she's more than capable. And yeah, she analyzes everything. You can agree or disagree with her. Um, but yeah, she shows whole cold facts and explains it. Um, yeah, and she will feel the money leaving her pocket like anyone on the ground will. I mean, yeah, we know what that's like here. Yeah, you seem to work harder and have less. That's the scenario. Yeah, conflict aside, I think we're given the current crop of leaders we've got. I think the conflict in Ukraine and Russia between Ukraine and Russia is just an excuse to hide their incompetence. I'm beginning to honestly believe that now. I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, time will tell on these people. Eventually, they'll be called to account.